Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a deeply troubling chapter of American history, the Trail of Tears. If you're passionate about justice, history, and learning from our past, we ask you to like, share, and comment on this video. Remember, every interaction brings the story to more people, raising awareness and promoting understanding. So we encourage you to engage with this important topic so that together we can shine a light on this and similar stories that have been overshadowed for far too long. Now, the Trail of Tears is not just a story of forced migration. It's also a dark chapter in American history. And it's a story of systematic oppression and of a government-sanctioned act of ethnic cleansing that led to the death and/or displacement of approximately 60,000 Native Americans of the 5 civilized tribes, but primarily the Cherokee Nation. The other 4 tribes were the Seminole, Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Muscogee or Creek tribes. And this theft of Native American ancestral homelands was done by the United States government between 1830 and 1850. In the early 1800s, the Cherokee, one of the affected tribes, began to face enormous pressures to cede all of their traditional homelands in the East and to move to lands far west of the Mississippi River. In 1828, President Andrew Jackson pushed for a bill through Congress calling for the removal of the southeastern Native American tribes to the lands west of the Mississippi River. This act, known as the Indian Removal Act, was passed by Congress in 1830 and effectively forced all southeastern tribes to give up their traditional homelands. And President Jackson, a man who had made his name as an Indian fighter, was a staunch advocate of this policy, believing it to be a benevolent act to save the Indians from the corrupting influences of white settlers. Bullshit, because the Cherokee people were already a sovereign nation with a constitution, an alphabet, and thriving towns. They were not in need of saving. So basically, President Jackson's rhetoric was just another lame-ass attempt of some white people trying to provide a weak-ass explanation for their greed. Because remember, they didn't care about the Native Americans, they just wanted their land. Despite the passage of the act, the Cherokee Nation, led by Principal Chief John Ross, resisted the Indian Removal Act, even in the face of assaults on its sovereign rights by the state of Georgia and violence against the Cherokee people. However, a small group of Cherokee citizens began to believe they had no choice but to give up their land and move to the west. And despite the fact that they had no legal right to represent the Cherokee Nation, some Cherokees signed the Treaty of New Echota with the U.S. government in December of 1835, thus ceding all Cherokee lands in the east for lands west of the Mississippi River. This treaty was protested as fraudulently signed by Principal Chief John Ross and a majority of Cherokee people, but it was still ratified in the U.S. Senate by just one vote. Again, greed by some white people. Now, the Cherokee Nation took their case to the U.S. Supreme Court in Worcester versus Georgia, hoping for justice. And surprisingly, the court ruled in their favor, declaring that the Cherokee Nation was indeed a distinct community with their own laws and that Georgia's laws had no force within their territory. But President Jackson ignored this ruling, setting a dangerous precedent. His famous response: "John Marshall has made his decision. Now let him enforce it." That illustrated his contempt for the court and for the Cherokee people. Ballsy move, don't you think? Now, could a president do something like this today? Leave a comment and let us know your thoughts on this. I don't think he or she could, but what do you think? And so, the removal began. In 1838, under the orders of President Martin Van Buren, thousands of Cherokees were forcibly removed from their homelands in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and North Carolina to designated quote-unquote Indian Territory in present-day Oklahoma. This removal known as the Trail of Tears, was a harrowing journey of over 1,000 miles. Many made the journey on foot. Others were crammed into wagons or flatboats. Some of the groups who made this trek averaged about 10 miles a day and took over 4 months to complete the journey. They faced harsh weather, disease, and starvation during this forced extraction during the cold-ass winter of 1838 to 1839. And it's estimated that 4,000 Cherokee people died as a result. Now, many were buried in unmarked graves along the route, now known as the Trail of Tears, and those who survived were displaced and escorted by state or local militias into government-designated Indian Territory in, again, present-day Oklahoma. Now let's hear from some of the voices of those who lived through this tragedy as recounted by their descendants. Mary Cobb Agnew, whose grandparents were forced to migrate on the Trail of Tears, recounted her family's experiences in an interview. Her grandparents told her that the Cherokees were driven out of Georgia by the U.S. government. They were forced to leave behind their homes, their livestock, and their belongings. And many Cherokees died on the trail, and many more died while waiting to cross the Mississippi River due to a dysentery outbreak. Now let's look at Job Alexander, another Cherokee descendant, who shared his father's experiences of being rounded up with other Native Americans and forced to leave their homes and crops. Some of the last groups rounded up revolted, leading to the resurgence of Cherokee communities in North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. And Lillian Anderson recounted the story of her grandfather, Washington Lee, who lost his father, mother, and sister on the Trail of Tears. Like many others, Lee was driven from his home in Georgia and was forced to start a new life in the Indian Territory. What does this all remind you of? World War II? Nazis? Germany? Sound familiar, doesn't it? Now, the aftermath of the Trail of Tears was devastating. The forced displacement led to the loss of life, property, and the cultural heritage of the Native American tribes involved. The event is a stark reminder of the consequences of policies driven by greed and a disregard for the rights and lives of indigenous people, hell, of any people. Here are the estimates of the loss of lives from some of the Native American tribes. Cherokee, 4,000 deaths. Seminole, 3,000 deaths during the Second Seminole War, which ran from 1835 to 1842. Chickasaw, 3,500 deaths. Choctaw, 2,500 to 6,000 deaths. And Ponca, 200 deaths. So as we remember the Trail of Tears, it's essential not only to acknowledge the immense suffering it caused, but also to honor the resilience of the tribes that survived this ordeal. Their stories are a testament to the enduring spirit of the Native American people, as well as a call to recognize and rectify the injustices of the past. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the Trail of Tears. We hope this video has provided you with a deeper understanding of this period in history and its enduring impacts. Please take a moment to reflect on this dark episode of American history. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one, as we uncover more instances of America's mistreatment of minorities. So like this video, share it, and add comments with your thoughts on this instance of American history. And feel free to add other events in American history that you want covered, and we will give you a shout out in the video if we use your suggestion. Your engagement with our videos will help this channel and our community grow, and it supports our efforts to bring similar content to you and other viewers. So definitely hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when our next video comes out. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.